because I'm not ready. All right, you probably know the button to push to start the slide. Is that right? Yeah? Yeah.
Okay, so the digital project that we researched a little bit was the September 11th Digital Archive. And so first I just wanted to tell you guys kind of what it's all about. If you go to the homepage, which we're going to do in just a second, it says that it uses electronic media to collect, preserve, and present history of 9/11 and its aftermath. And on it, there are over 150,000 materials that they have collected all together. And in September 2003, it was accepted into the Library of Congress's archives, and that makes it the first major digital archive that's part of that. So as you can see, it's a collaborative collection of all of those things. I'll take you to the home page. Okay. So I actually brought it to the browse page because it shows you all of the different things that you can search for, and it has it really well organized, so it's really easy to find what you're looking for. So, for example, say you want to go to see some digital photos that were submitted. You just go under Images, and then there are 162 pages of digital photos, and you can just go through, look at them, and if you go back to the browse, there are interviews, digital animations, stories, emails, etc., etc. Okay. Now how do I get back?
I think it's the tab up at the top. Try to go back to your presentation.
Yes.
Look at the top of the screen. Oops. Go back down to my Chrome.
Okay.
Go down to this Chrome will pop up. So down to the bottom. Hover down at the bottom and pop up. And it's, and to the right, you'll see the Chrome has that little like, three colors there with the blue circle in the middle. Yep. And then up to the top, so little Gary.
There it is. Sorry, guys. Okay. Moving on. So I think we can agree that all of Unsworth's primitives were present on the archive. So what we did was we took them step by step so that we could explain to you how they were present and how they work on this site. So discovery, there is a lot of discovery on this site in different forms, kind of. The person can go on to the site and discover a lot of things about 9/11 that they never would have known just by browsing through all the different categories. There are also documents of people discovering about the events of 9/11 and the aftermath. So you can read about the discovery of those things unfolding. And the last is that there are stories of self-discovery and realizations about America. And one of the examples I used was the Smithsonian had guests who came in write an answer to a prompt that they had, and these are all submitted on the archive. And this is an example of one of them that I took a screenshot of, which I was really proud of. And you can just, there are hundreds and hundreds of these. And this girl is talking about something that she discovered about herself and about America. So. Annotation occurs throughout the archive. This is just an example of an annotation. It explains in the email category what kind of, like this is talking about Satan and the smoke emails. I'm not sure if you guys have heard of this. I have not heard of this, but it's about a picture that a photojournalist took after the Twin Towers had been hit, and the burning buildings, they said, made up the smoke made the face of Satan. So there's all of these emails about it, and if you were just to go in and read these emails, you might not have any clue what they're talking about. I wouldn't. And so the annotations are really helpful throughout the archive. Comparison, I think, is kind of an obvious one. You can go into each of the categories, and I showed you this is the photo art, and you can just go through the hundreds of pages of archive stories or the pages of photo art and just compare what people have done, compare their stories of the day, and their different take on it. So.
Right.
Okay.
So with referring to the archive, it offers a lot of lists and explanations for a lot of the sites. So it offers a linked area where you can look and view all the resources that they've been gathering from that aren't on the archive itself. And you can sort these lists by topic, which is my example right here. So you have by personal, corporate, institutions, charities, government. So they really, all these different institutions and their different spins on it, you can see what they're referenced and how. And also you can see by the content. So say if you want to look up a story of someone that witnessed 9/11, you could do that. Or if you're interested in more about the memorial itself, that's also available to them just by a simple list. In the future though, like this is a very basic idea of referring to the images and the stories of the site. I would add like a related section, so if you're looking at a piece, you can see like what others have looked at afterwards to really organize like what's related to what. For sampling, the site offers a large search option, and much like the referring, you can search by any media type that you'd want. So if you're looking for art, photos, digital animations, or even audio clips, those are all available on the archive. And if you want, in the advanced search options, you can go and even omit certain words that you're not looking for. So say if you're doing a research project, we'll take Satan in the Smoke for example, you can just search for that particularly, but you can also omit other words or phrases that might limit your search. So you can really get down to what you want rather than all of the expansive archive. And for the illustrations of the archive, they really do a great job of just a basic intro on the homepage, which you can see as the top picture here. So they give you how many items that they have, and they really give like what they're offering to you, so you have a good idea of what's available from the outset. After that, each subsection, such as the browsing and the images section, they all have a very good detail to illustrate what you're looking at before you go into the area. So even when you click on a link, you're still getting a good explanation of what you need to look for and what the section is all about. And one of the subsections is a comprehensive FAQ about just like different events, like when did the bombings happen, what planes were affected, and just like the statistics of it. You can all go through it in a list-oriented fashion. And I feel that's really helpful, especially with trying to find specific details about the event, that you can go through like the trials and everything, just the real questions that you wouldn't normally find by someone's own opinions of the attacks. And for representing, everything on the site is represented in a very list-based format, so it's very textual in their ideas. The images are associated by thumbnails, which it makes it very easy to go through and look at what each image is, and then you can make them larger to view the specific image. But one special mention goes to their special projects subsection, has a few of the more, well, comprehensive ideas. And the Sonic Memorial has a graphic user interface instead of a text-based, which is really the only example in this image. So when you go to the Sonic browser, they would offer a sort of Actually, let me just bring it up. It'll be easier that way. Where'd it go here?
Just move that screen recording over to the left.
Oh,
I'm sorry, you got it?
there we are. So yeah, as you can see, it's a graphical interface. So if you want to learn about the project or certain stories, you can either read or listen to them. So, such as Fresh Kills, an artist in the World Trade Center, and the piece de resistance of it is the Sonic browser. It'll load for me. And this offers a very sound-based idea to it. So, as you can see,
You want sound? So I turned off the volume.
yeah, that'd be great. So, as they say, each line corresponds to a story or artifact. So, if you go over to this, go over audio file, and like this is just the introduction of it. Say you go here, that'll activate another one. We enter this, give quite a bit. Here's 10-year-old response to the tragedy. So they really offer just a lot of things you wouldn't see normally in an archive in a way that I feel really impacts more than a textual-based resource. So I feel that it's definitely an important part of the memorial as a whole. And then the rest of the project is very much just a graphical interface with text.
Out of Svensson's modes, we thought that expressive medium covered it pretty well. This is a born digital project. All the information's like on the internet compiled into one spot. It's pretty easy access. You saw the home screen. You've already seen it a couple times. You can pretty much click on whatever you want, and it's pretty layered. It brings you to one place, and you click. Like I clicked on stories from site visitors, and that brought me to a page with 792 just like pages of stories, like first-hand stories from people who talked about their experiences. And I mean, it's different. It doesn't have to. It's not necessarily all people that were in New York at the time. Some people are just talking about their day and how it went. Like we all remember where we were, and you can share. Like I talk about it a little later, but there's a contributions page. Doesn't matter who you are. You can just contribute to the site and add more. Audience. This is kind of unlike some other of these projects we've been working on. This is like, I think it's a pretty broad audience. You don't have to be like a student. You can just be like a stay-at-home mom or a working class dad or anybody really, any like American who wants to find out more about 9/11. And then you can also find out a lot of information if you are a student looking up 9/11, do a project or whatever. It's got a lot of information on there, good stuff, and most of it's, like I said, based on personal experience. the site's very easy to use. You click on one thing and it'll bring you to it. It's straightforward. Like I was saying with the sharing, you just click on whatever kind of story you want to, or photo or video you want to share, right under the contributions tab, and it welcomes contributions from anyone. If you were doing a project, you could probably make like a documentary or a research paper based on the many stories, different points of view on the attack. But I think the most important thing about this archive is it opens the mind to a whole new perspective about the day. It's like in middle school and high school history books, they're going to read a certain way of how the day was. But if you find a site like this, an archive that tells you about the different perspectives, it's just a lot more information that I think is really important. And those are more exciting. That's it.
Any questions or comments?
Of course, half the class is standing up. So. I have a huge question. I'm probably gonna have to go to the archive to have it answered. I'm curious about search here, and Deidre, in your presentation, you showed, you can look at 142 pages of images, or that kind of a thing, and you've mentioned sort of search a couple times, and I'm really interested in that because given the sheer quantity of material, nobody could actually, no historian, hypothetically, no sociologist, nobody could actually sit down and read it all or engage with it all. And so you need some method of sampling. Even if you just sort of said, the images only, I only want to look at images and I want to look at, I mean, you gave the example of sort of Satan in the smoke. How do we, I mean, is that a curated set of images in the sense that the Satan in the smoke images or the Satan in the smoke emails or the Satan, right? This is what, or is it, so I'm really curious about that piece of this this collection because so I'd love to, so if you could kind of show us how search works. And so I'm going to speculate about a possible project. So imagine you wanted, and the really cool thing, Ryan, about your presentation, your part of the presentation is that it's still open, right? One can add things. So I don't know if it's in there, but there was a significant anti-Arab, anti-Muslim backlash or sort of sentiment that rose right after 9/11. And, it continues to endure in this country to some extent. But I wonder, I mean, if let's imagine I'm put on a sociologist's hat. Can we track in the contributions that people are making, the comments that people make to the site, or something like that over the last however long the site's been operating? If we tracked like number of references to Muslims, let's say hypothetically, or to Bin Laden, or something like that, could we generate a sort of quantity of that word that surfaced over a timeline? And could one, maybe it doesn't have a tool to do that, but could one construct that using search? And this is I'm just sort of making up an example here. It would be fascinating. One could do a paper, probably publish a paper using that. Just hint to anybody in this room. So let's try one. Let's see what happens. You don't have to use the Bin Laden or something, but
Alright, so
I'm curious.
what do we want to search for? Can't be civil war this time. Or maybe it could. Maybe there are.
Just anything related to anything?
Yeah.
Hold the freedom power. I know it's not called the freedom power anymore, but
That is a caps lock.
Like the site just automatically
Okay.
capitalized.
It's interesting that you can add words that possibly could be in the search and then exclude other words.
Yeah, that's definitely goes a big way towards, as you said, like if you wanted to reference like how many times was Muslims referenced, you can do that directly and find exactly how many times it is used. So do we have any optional words we'd like to add in here? We have the Freedom Tower.
What else is it called? What else was it called?
It's got a more formal name now. Now that it's done. It's called the One World Trade Center.
The One World Trade Center, not
No,
one,
just
one,
One World.
like number one World Trade Center.
Yep. O-N-E, One World.
For a second, it sounded like that Michael Jackson. We Are the World.
And any words we don't want to search for. Couldn't imagine in this, really. Nothing to omit that I would know of. But now, which object media type do we want? So let's see.
Obviously.
Are we looking for documents, images?
Still image or moving image.
Moving image. What is that?
A movie.
Video.
Like a.
It's an image that
Yeah.
moves.
Oh,
Maybe like a GIF.
yeah. No. I say here, but it's cool, you know. To each his own. There's no consensus on that.
So, what do we want?
Yeah. Try moving image.
Moving image, okay.
Maybe there's
36 pages. Notice these, I just said, I'm so glad we did this. I had no idea we were gonna see this. Look at the file type there.
Yep, we've got XML.
That's all right, cool. So what do we see here? What do we have here? We have, and these are moving images.
These are stories which probably have the words moving and images in them. I see images.
But you were looking for a certain
Let's click
kind
on
of
this.
media.
Let's click on this top one. See what we got here.
Original
Yeah.
document.
Oh, this is, oh, I'm so glad we did this. I mean, it wasn't part of the assignment, it wasn't part of your presentation,
See
but I'm
if we
really
got
glad we did this because you're gonna see this, we're gonna be building this kind of thing when we get to, back up in a few weeks, so, that's really good, I'm glad.
Well, I don't see any moving images in here. Let's see. We got our stories, our
I think this is a
memory.
description, this is, need more information about this object.
Yeah, let's see. Oh, okay.
So media type is story, so why does it come up when we selected the media type, moving image?
Yeah, that is an interesting.
Right, so
Not
let's
sure
go
if that's a
back and
hitch
see-
in the
yeah, let's
system.
go back and see what else.
Maybe there were no results. Yeah. Still image.
Because I would classify that more as a story than a.
Yeah.
Oh.
Object media type. Let's do, instead of moving image, let's do still image and see if we get pictures. Much more, we get stories too.
Yep.
Maybe we should omit.
Omit story. That would probably help our search.
Well, the question, so we could try that, but when it says search, are they searching also the name of the file? Because those files are labeled story.xml.
Well, we'll see.
Yeah.
Nope, they're not going by.
So the image search is, and so I wrote in my notes, like, how are they handling the image search? So one way, we often do this is with keywords, tags, basically. Right, so when an image got uploaded, if it got tagged, like coded, with sort of, meta information that described it with keywords, then that would enable it to come right up. Let's look at the photos and see if we can search from the photos. I didn't see a search bar.
No, I didn't either. It said it's very much just by thumbnail.
Yeah, let's try that. Go back to that search and try the Satan and the smoke thing and see if we get an image of that. Just, I'm curious. This is looking like a limitation on the search tool in this particular.
Oh, maybe sources. I don't know, collections versus objects.
You want us to look for objects?
Maybe.
Well, a collection usually is a group of objects that are assembled in a certain take a bunch of objects and you make them
Yeah.
a collection.
So let's do it by both.
See, these are the emails.
Well, we got Jesus in the smoke cloud now. Satan picture. There we go. Hopefully this actually has a picture.
They're talking about it.
There
That's
is
like,
an email where they're talking about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is looking like they did
Yes,
not encode
yes,
the
this
images.
does.
So let's look at an image and see what kind of content information we have there. I'm just curious about the meta information you're putting into this. Oh. And this is really important, I mean, particularly given, Deidre, what you said, that this is the first digital archive added to the Library of Congress. So, very little information, actually.
A tag-based system would very much help them in this situation.
Yeah, and even, even invite individuals to tag it, to build a social dimension. So
Yeah.
people can add material, making it possible for, so let's say you're doing a research project for some class and you spend 2 hours finding material here, like taking stuff out of this to build to do your analysis. If in that process you have been able just to tag it with different keywords, that somebody coming along later could have benefited from that. I mean, that's how a lot of the internet works, right? You give to the community, you take from the community, it's sort of back and forth. And that would make it possible to grow. The title itself doesn't help at all. 1004.pj. Right, so that's not descriptive. Flag Empire doesn't really tell you much. Is there another? Oh, you could download the original object. You could get whatever was uploaded. Click the view contributor information. I'm wondering what that says. This one says source unknown, so maybe there's no information on this contributor.
is there a it's debated.
No?
That's interesting.
Another interesting thing I saw was object statistics. Let's see what that gives. Oh, don't. I shouldn't view it.
Whoa, okay. This little baby with some restrictions.
I'm interested to see if that would give you what you were talking about with, can you build a sort of repository of, well, how much in a graphical sense was this image
Yeah.
either viewed,
Yeah.
looked at?
That would be fascinating, wouldn't it, to have some kind of an option in here, like most viewed images, most read,
Yeah,
right? Most, as access grows, you could see.
which brings it more to the related searches, like you can go by what's most popular and then view other things that people have viewed.
I mean, that's a double-edged sword, right? Just, in a lot of ways, as something, something goes viral, everybody
Yeah.
sort of is looking at that and it kind of builds. And there's a whole lot that might get excluded in that process. But it would probably help people early on engage in the archive. Anyway, sorry, thank you very much, that's really cool. This is more time than I've ever spent with this archive. So. Other questions?